Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all my students are okay. And I'm sure that the answer is yes. That's pretty good. Well, I hope that you can recall and you are in the position to recall what we did during session number 30. Can you recall? Because it's very important to recall session number 30, as this session is primarily based on session number 30. Or in other words, you can call that session number 31 is the second part of session number 30. Alright? Welcome to session number 31, my dear students. That is the sister part, in fact, of session number 30. So that's why I would like you to stop for the time being. You can take a pause, and I want you to recall, or I want you to see session number 30 again, so that you may be able to connect what we are going to do today. So that's very important. To understand session number 31, it is important and imperative to understand session number 30 in detail. Alright? Well, look at the slide. These are two reasons. Rather, I should be talking about the first reason, that is the description of vowels or the monophthongs. This is the reason on which I was saying that you have to refer to session number 30 first of all, and that is session number 31, in fact, is the sister of session number 30, because we have to describe vowels in detail again. And this time, one more thing is included in this session, and that is we shall try to understand the difficult areas of phonology. So I want you can take pause. I want you to pause. I want you to refer to session number 30 so that you may be able to recall the things which we did, and we try to understand the parameters when we were engaged in describing vowel sounds of English. Alright? Now let's start with monophthong. What is a monophthong? I use this term, and you came across this term in some of the previous sessions. I used the term monophthong. At the same time, I used the word diphthong, and I tried to present before you certain examples. But this is the time we have to understand linguistically what is a monophthong. Of course, that is a pure vowel. And the second term is diphthong. Remember, both are vowel sounds. But it's very important to understand the difference between monophthong and diphthong. I told you many a time that so far as the consonants are concerned, sometimes the students find them very easy to understand. Sometimes they find their symbols and sign easy to write. At the same time, they also find it easy to pronounce the sounds which the phoneme contains so far as the consonant sounds are concerned. But remember, I also told you that real trouble comes to the students when they are to produce vowel sounds, and especially the diphthongs. I have seen, so far as my own experience is concerned, that some of the students, I'm not saying all the students, but some of the students, or maybe some of the speakers of English, who are the foreign language learners or the second language learners, they make mistake while producing a diphthong. Now, for example, the statement which is in front of you, that says that monophthongs are pure vowels. This is what you already know. And diphthongs are gliding vowels. Now, the term gliding, or the word gliding, is very important. And when I say gliding vowels, what does that mean? That means that we have to glide from one sound to the other, because when you consider the signs or the symbols of diphthongs, and the two pure vowels are together, but remember that is one sound. But the only difference is there is gliding from one sound to another, but at the same time that's one sound. So never think that there are two sounds. There is a glide. For example, I speak a sentence and you have to mark what is the place where I am using a diphthong? Alright, listen to me carefully. If I say, I want to go to University Road. I want to go to University Road. I want to go to University Road. Now, is this one word or two words where I have used diphthong? You're absolutely right, there are two words. I want to go, number one is go to University Road. So the first word containing a diphthong is go. O. And the next word is road. Road. But if I say I want to go to University Road, that means I am using a long vowel sound, that is O, which is used in small, talk, walk, haul, fall, instead of a diphthong, and the diphthong is O. I want to go to University Road. Now this is what I have seen in my, so far as my experience is concerned, that most of the students, they make a mistake over here, that they are unable to make a distinction in between a pure vowel and a diphthong. Well, I'm not saying that it's one day's story that you can grasp the production of diphthongs, but remember, time and again I emphasized on practice. Without practice, my dear students, it becomes really very difficult to produce diphthongs. Yes, exactly, unless until you practice on daily basis. And the only recipe I can give to you people is that you have to generate an English speaking environment. Since this time we are engaged virtually, so far as learning and teaching both are concerned, but when you are on the campus, the most important thing is within the class, outside the class, when your major is English, remember what you need to do is that you have to generate an English speaking environment, because you have intentionally opted for this particular program, that is maybe BS English program, maybe MA English program. And I personally feel that there must be distinction in between the graduate whose major is English and whose major isn't English. Since your major is English, that's why it is imperative for you people to have understanding of these things. Alright? Let me read again that monophthongs are pure vowels and diphthongs are gliding vowels. So I have presented before you one example containing two words having one diphthong. Now, we have to understand more. The slide tells us that a vowel that does not change in quality may be called a monophthong. I repeat, a vowel that does not change in quality may be called a monophthong, and a vowel sound with a continually changing quality may be called a diphthong. Now, what we are learning in fact is that what is a diphthong? Diphthong is a vowel sound that is continually changing quality. Quality. That doesn't mean it is a separate phoneme. Yes, it is a separate phoneme. Okay? But so far as its identity is concerned, that shall be considered as a complete independent phoneme. Not like that we are saying the two sounds are together. No, these are not two phonemes together. Yes, so far as the symbols are concerned, of course, two symbols are together. But that is always, that should be in your mind forever, that these are known as the gliding vowels. And they have got their identity as a diphthong. Alright? But I'm not saying that they are not two. Yes, exactly, they are two. Right? They are two. They are independent. But they are vowel sounds of English. But we make categories. For example, we made categories of pure vowels. And we have got two categories. And the third now is the diphthong. And the fourth category is what? That is the triphthong. But for now, what you need to understand is that A diphthong is a separate phoneme. It is a separate phoneme. You must remember. But two symbols are there. So you can't say that since these are two symbols, that's why there are two sounds. No, that's a glide. And that's why it is written over here that it is a vowel sound with a continually changing quality. It is continually changing its quality. That is very important to understand and remember. So what we are left with is that monophthongs are pure vowels, all right. And the diphthongs are also vowels, but they are the gliding vowels. I hope you should remember this. Always remember that these two are separate, independent phonemes. Maybe pure vowels or maybe diphthongs. At the same time, definitely we have to talk about triphthong. But this time I'm not talking about triphthong. Is it clear? Now let's understand all the monophthongs. The first monophthong is E. Say after me. E. It's a long vowel sound. What is it? E. Now remember, that is the description, this is the elaboration of E. The front of the tongue is raised to a height slightly below and behind the close front position. The lips are spread, the tongue is tense, with the side rims making a firm contact with the upper molars. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. Now, you have heard me, and I'm going to produce this sound again. Whatever you have heard, so far as the elaboration is concerned, you can apply it. The sound is E. E. Now whatever you have heard, now try to check. E. 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 I'm sure that you can feel our right tongue is touching the upper molars, isn't it? The next one is I. 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 Say after me. I. Alright. A part of the tongue nearer to center than to front is raised just above the half-closed position. The lips are loosely spread. The tongue is lax, with side rims making a light contact with the upper molars. And the sound is I. The sound is I. You can produce the sound. You can produce the sound time and again and try to understand the elaboration. Produce the sound first of all and then read the elaboration and then again produce the sound. You will find the same thing or same things which are written over here. Is it clear? Well, our next sound is, which is in front of you, A. 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 Say after me. A. Yes, what is the sound? Absolutely right. A. Remember, it is not A. It is not A. What is the sound? A. Now, listen to me carefully. The front of the tongue is raised between the half open and half closed positions. The lips are loosely spread and are slightly wider apart than for E. The tongue may have more tense or tension than in the case of I. So, that is in between what? E and I. E and I. It is not A, it is A. What is the sound? The sound is A. Now I want you to read again what is the explanation or what is the elaboration and then produce the sound. I'm sure that you will have the same thing. It's very important. The recipe is that first of all produce the sound, listen to me carefully and then read the elaboration, and after reading the elaboration what you need to do is that practice a couple of times. Alright? So, and then the best thing is that you must have some sort of keywords containing this particular sound. So the sound is A. Our next sound is A. 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 In received pronunciation, remember received pronunciation, that is the most refined English. Sometimes people call it Queen's English, but mostly it is called received pronunciation. Our target is not to speak received pronunciation, but at least understand the models which are very much present in received pronunciation. Time and again, I asked you, I told you, I requested you, and I informed you that we are not English speakers. There are certain mistakes we can make. As an instructor, I have my own shortcomings. I never claimed that I speak British English. But what I'm trying to tell you is that these are the things which are present in the model which is in front of us. So this sound, which is pronounced as ah, ah. Now listen very carefully. The front of the tongue is raised just below the half-open position, with the side rims making a very light contact with the back upper molars. The mouth is slightly more open than for ah. The lips are neutrally open. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. And the sound we have is ah, ah, bat, rat, cat, hat. Produce the sound, listen to the explanation carefully, and then again produce the sound together with the keywords. And you are left with the sound ah, ah. Okay? Our next sound is ah. Ah. Again in received pronunciation, ah. How to elaborate in the light of received pronunciation? The center of the tongue, or a part slightly in advance of center, is raised just above the fully open position. No contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. The jaws are considerably separated and the lips are neutrally open. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. And this is what the explanation. Now, I want to tell you over here, there is a word center, C-E-N-T-E-R. That is not British spelling, American spelling, right? The British spellings are C-E-N-T-R-A. So at times what happens that we use American English and British English. And deliberately, I wanted to tell you that, all right, when it is written C-E-N-T-E-R, you might have seen, for example, sometimes the computer, in fact, gives you some sort of color, maybe the green color, sometimes maybe the red color. Remember, we do not know what English, in fact, our computer is following or the applications are following. That's why I told you it's very difficult for any speaker to say, who is a second language learner, that I'm speaking British English or the American English. So for you people, remember, if it is center, again it's okay, and if it is C-E-N-T-R-E, again it is okay. So you don't have to get yourself confused, because we are primarily concerned with the pronunciation of English, and so far as the vowel sounds are concerned. Vowel sounds are concerned, that's very important to understand, because we are trying to understand the monophthong, and we are trying to understand the difference between monophthong and diphthong. Is it clear? Well, our next sound is ah. 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 As in park, as in dark, as in father. Let's read. A part of the tongue between the center and the back is in the fully open position, no contact being made between the rims of the tongue and the upper molars. The jaws are considerably separated and the lips are neutrally open. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. Now this is what the elaboration is. This is what the explanation of the sound ah is. Ah. Ah. I would suggest that you have to read the explanation. It's very important that we understand the explanation. Sometimes it is possible that this explanation is little difficult in the sense to understand it. But when you feel this kind of feeling, or you have this kind of feeling, so what you need to do is that you have to produce the sound ah, or whatever the phoneme is, or whatever the monophthong is, produce it. Produces for a couple of times together with the keyword, and then read the explanation. A part of the tongue between the center and the back is in the fully open position, no contact being made between the rims of the tongue and the upper molars. The jaws are considerably separated and the lips are neutrally open. The tongue is behind the lower teeth. So, the part of the tongue, what happens between the center and the back is in the fully open position. Ah, ah. No contact being made between the rims of the tongue and the upper molars. Ah. Do you find any contact? Ah. So there is no contact. The jaws are considerably separated. The jaws are what? They are separated. Ah. And the lips are neutrally open. Ah. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. Ah. Ah. Now, whatever is the explanation, time and again produce a sound as I have been doing, and you will find, yes, this is the case. So use this particular or produce this particular sound, this monophthong, with keywords. That's the wonderful exercise you can do. And then read the explanation, stop for the time being, and make in chunks, right? Make the chunks of this statement, as I have done, for example. A part of the tongue between the center and the back is in the fully open position. That is what the first thing. Ah. No contact being made between the rims of the tongue and the upper molars. No contact. Ah. The jaws are considerably separated. Ah. And the lips are neutrally open. Ah. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. So all these things are very much present when you are producing the sound ah. Ah. Is it clear? Well, the next sound is oh. Oh. What is the sound? Oh. How do you pronounce it? Oh. So this monophthong is pronounced as oh. The explanation is the back of the tongue is just below the half-open position. The back of the tongue is just below the half-open position. No contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. The jaws are wide open and there is slight open lip rounding. Slight open lip rounding. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. I want you to refer to the previous session, session number 30. Right? Rounding of your lips. You must remember the 5 parameters. The back of the tongue is just below the half open position. Oh. Oh. No contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. Oh. Upper molars, tongue. There is no contact at all. The jaws are wide open. The jaws are wide open. Oh. And there is slight open lip rounding. Slight open lip rounding. Oh. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. Now you can apply all these things while producing the monophthong oh. Oh. Lot. Got. Oh. Is it clear? Our next monophthong is O. This is a long vowel sound, or one of the long vowel sounds. O. O. Let's read the explanation. The back of the tongue is raised between the half open and half closed positions. O. The back of the tongue is raised between the half open and half closed positions. O. No contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. O. Do you find any contact between the tongue and the upper molars? Not at all. Or there is medium lip rounding. There is medium lip rounding. Or, okay, you can apply all this to the production of O sound. O, talk, walk, tall, fall, whole, small, O. The next sound is U. U. Part of the tongue nearer to center than to back is raised just above the half-closed position. U. U. The tongue is laxically held, no firm contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. You can produce this sound U, would, put, took, and you can apply whatever you read over here. Okay? Well, the sound or the symbol which is in front of you is one of the long vowel sounds again, and this is pronounced as oo. Oo. I would like to read explanation for you. The back of the tongue is raised relaxedly from the closest position and is somewhat advanced from the true back. Its articulation is tenser compared with that of oo. Though no firm contact is made between the tongue and the upper molars, the tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. And say the sound after me. Oo, food, rule, and apply what you read on this slide. The sound is, the monophthong is oo, oo, and it's a long vowel sound. Can you recall how many total long vowel sounds are? 5. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And what about short vowel sounds? Absolutely right, there are 7. So this sound is one of the 5 long vowel sounds, and this sound, this monophthong, is produced as oo, oo. Okay? Well, our next sound is again one of the long vowel sounds, and that is pronounced as Let's read the explanation. The center of the tongue is raised between the half-closed and half-open positions. The center of the tongue is raised between the half-closed and half-open positions, no firm contact being made between the tongue and the upper molars. The lips are neutrally spread. The lips are neutrally spread. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. And listen the sound again. Turn, third, first. What is the sound? That's very good. And now you can read again the explanation and you can apply what I have said while producing the sound okay? Now this sound is very important. Very important. I'm not saying the others are not, but I'm saying this is very important. I hope to remember the other name which we have given to this sound. That is a. And it is also known as schwa sound. It is also known as schwa sound. Schwa. Let's read the explanation. In non-final word positions, the center of the tongue is raised between the half-open, half-closed positions in the vicinity of the vowel consonants k, g, and ing. The tongue may be slightly more raised and retracted. In word final position, the tongue is in the half-open central position or in the most open region of the central area. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth. The tongue tip is behind the lower teeth, and the sound produced is against, about. And do you remember? In British English, sometimes, of course, this is very much the mostly used sound in place of R in the weak form. Okay? For example, particular, father. We do not know what is the next sound after R. And I told you, in British English, R sound is not spoken. But there is a rule where it is not spoken. It is not spoken if it is followed by a consonant sound. But if it is followed by a vowel sound, definitely it is spoken. So this is what you must remember always. Always remember, the rules are very important. Rules should be stored in the mind. And how can we grasp the rules? Through practice. Always remember, it's a practice. Unless until you get yourself engaged in connected speech, you cannot practice the rules. So it's very important that you have to get yourself engaged. How? All the time in the classroom, university campus, or anywhere, you can no, not at all. You can talk to yourself. You can sit in front of the mirror. You can record your voice. You can pick up any book. Start reading. Record your voice. Start listening. And you can, if you know what are the rules, again, you can overcome the problems if there are problems. Is that clear? So this sound is produced as Alright? Well, my dear students, again the chart is in front of you. What we have done so far with regard to the description of all vowel sounds, and today we were talking about describing and understanding monophthongs. And we tried to understand the difference between pure vowel, monophthong, and of course the diphthong. But this chart is very important. Time and again I'm referring to this chart. Time and again I have presented this chart in different sessions. I want you to store all these phonemes in your mind. So far as the symbols are concerned, their signs are concerned, at the same time the sound of each and every phoneme. So this time all the vowel sounds are in front of you. No consonants are here. All the vowel sounds are in front of you. I want you to say after me all these sounds, of course all these phonemes together with the keywords. I hope you are ready, and I want you to practice. Say after me. Here I go. E, fleece. C, machine. I, kit. Bid, him, minute. A, dress. Bed, head, many. Trap, bad. Strut, mud, love, blood. Start, father. Lot, odd, wash. About, again. Thought, law, north, war. Nurse, stir, learn, refer. Foot, good, put. Goose, two, blue, group. You might have seen this word is mostly spoken by our students group. It's group. Okay? And now come to diphthongs. Say after me, please, together with the keywords. Here I go. A, face, day, break, I, price, high, try, oi, choice, boy, o, goat, show, no, ow, mouth, now, ear, near, here, weary, air, square, fair, various, poor, jewelry, cure. Now some diphthongs are also in front of you. I shall pronounce these four, particularly four, because they are in front of you for you people. The first one is ow, ow, The next is o, o, The next one is oi, oi, The fourth one is I, all right? Well, my dear student, this is the second part of our today's session. As I told you that we shall be talking about, or we shall try to understand two areas in this particular session number 31. The first part was to understand monophthongs, and we tried our level best to understand through certain examples, right? And the second part of this session is in fact based on 5 difficult areas of phonology, or the difficult areas of phonology. Of course, these are 5, popularly known as there are 5 different difficult areas of phonology. Let me read some lines for you so that you may be able to understand what I'm analyzing. It is written, English is a difficult language to pronounce. Of course, why it is difficult language to pronounce? Because there is a difference in between the spelling system and the pronunciation system. And it is, again, sometimes, I told you many a time, and I try to make you understand that sometimes the speakers don't have those sounds which are present in their language. So the English sounds are not available in the language they speak, or they naturally speak. They acquire that language. So the problems are there. So that's why it is generally believed that it's difficult to pronounce. So different individuals might find various parts of the phonology of English complicated, if not near impossible to grasp. But that's the big reason, in fact, because we don't have that sound, or those sounds. But my own understanding is that I always say that since we don't have a English-speaking environment around us, that is one of the troubles what I see. I may be wrong, but this is my perception. I don't know what is your perception. We can have agreement, or we can have disagreement, but I'm sure that you will find this is very important factor for not having good grasp on English pronunciation. So these are the 5 areas, right? And what are these areas? Sometimes they are known as confusing, sometimes they are known as complex. Now, why they're confusing, why they're complex? First of all, we have to try what are these. First of all, we must know what are these. We should know what are these. Now, the first one is, which is believed to be one of them, stress on words. Stress on words. The second is vowel and consonant sounds. As I told you that there are students who grasp consonant sounds quite easily, but it becomes really very hard for them to grasp vowel sounds, and especially the diphthongs, the glides, the gliding sounds, okay, or the gliding vowels. And then the combination of sounds, certain combinations are available in English. Then the physical attributes, And the fifth one is the translation between languages. Sometimes, definitely, it is generally taken as one of the problematic area or the difficult area, one of the difficult areas of phonology. So please, you must keep in mind the names at least, so that when we will be engaged in analyzing all these areas or understanding these areas, so you are in the better position to understand them. Okay? Now remember, in English, a different stress is placed on words that are spelled exactly the same. So that's very important to understand. For example, if I say there is a word subject, subject, and if I pronounce this word as subject, then what happens? One word, two pronunciations, as it is written over here. In English, a different stress is placed on words that are spelt exactly the same. For example, there is a word and its spellings are subject, and I call this word as subject. But at the same time, I also pronounce this word as a subject. What happens in fact? So there is a confusion. There's a confusion. This is what I said when I was talking about these difficult areas of phonology, that most of the learners in fact find English difficult to speak in the sense because of these certain areas which are called the difficult areas of phonology. For example, the stress system. One word, two pronunciations. But remember, there is a formula. There are rules. When I say subject, that means the word I'm using is a noun. And when I'm pronouncing the same word as subject, that means I'm using this word as a verb. Alright? For example, with the word record, there is a different stress based on whether we wish to refer to the noun of a piece of music media or to the verb for the actual act of registering or putting in writing a piece of information or saving a piece of music. Now, just watch. The same case which I said, subject and subject. Here, record or record. Right? If I say record, alright, that's a noun. But if I say record, that's a verb. So that's very important to understand. Stress system. It is the intention of the speaker we have to understand, and we talked about this in detail. That we come to know in fact what is the intention of the speaker. Sometimes we gather the attitude of the person or the speaker through the stress system. So that's very important to understand when we try to understand the stress system, because it is the speaker that determines what he or she wants to convey. Attitude, emotions, what else? Okay? Well, this is what I was talking about. The English language learners, they're in trouble. They don't have to look at the word only and the pronunciation of the word. The context is very important. This is what is written over here. May I read this statement for you? Therefore, English language learners cannot simply base the pronunciation of a word on what they see. Absolutely right. What they see. Right? They cannot simply base the pronunciation of a word. What they see. They also need to learn to look for contextual clues around that word. So context is very important. This is what I have been telling you, that what in fact is the intention of a speaker. Why? In order to determine the correct way to pronounce it. What in fact the speaker wants to convey to his or her audience. That matters most. And that's why English pronunciation becomes tricky for the learners. Why? Because depending upon the context, it is written contextual clues around that word. Whether the speaker wants that word to be used as a noun or as an adjective or a verb, depending upon his or her intentions. Remember, the learners also need to learn to look for contextual clues around that word in order to in order to determine the correct way to pronounce it. So this is the line you must remember. I have written it twice. They also need to learn what? To look for contextual clues. The contextual clues are very important. Without understanding the context of the word, in what context that word has been used by the speaker. So this is the line you must remember because it's written twice. That the learners need to learn what? To look for contextual clues around that word. So contextual clues are very important when you are speaking in the connected speech or whosoever is a speaker. For example, you come across a native speaker of English. Now what you need to know, what is the context in which those words which he or she is uttering or using are used. That's very important to understand. And then at that time, when you are following that speaker, you can understand the correct way to pronounce, whether he or she is pronouncing the word as a subject, as a noun, as a verb, or as an adjective, whatever the case may be. So without understanding the context, it is not easy to understand the pronunciation of the words. So pronunciation of the words in English language are primarily based on contextual clues. Stress system. Okay? Stress system is primarily based on the context in which the words are used. This is what you must remember ever. What else the English language learners need to know and need to consider? The English language learners, remember, must need to distinguish between vowels and consonants. And by this time, I'm sure that all of you know what is the difference between a consonant and a vowel. You know the classification of consonants and you know the types of vowels. But it's the front vowel, it's the central vowel, it's the back vowel. The second thing, after learning these most basic letter sounds, they also have to learn that these letters do not always make the same sound. For example, the vowel A makes a very different sound in the word bake. A, E, I, O, U. You have got 5 vowel letters in English. And A, I'm talking about A. Look at the word bake. Over here, A. Diphthong is there. Bake. And the second word is apple. A-P-P-L-E. In the first word, it's been used as a diphthong. But in the second word, it has been used as a short vowel sound. Ah. Right? So you don't have to run after the spelling system of English when you are going to grasp English pronunciation. Is it clear? Further, what you need to understand is that consonants can change a bit as well. Consonants can change a bit as well. A T in the word tackle is very different in sound from a T in the word the. Right? In tackle, it is all right, it is T sound. Well, what about T when used with H and E? It becomes the. The. It's a dental sound, isn't it? So this is what happens when we are running after the spelling system of English. So remember, the pronunciation of a vowel and consonant sounds vary with the word in which they are used. So it is the use of these phonemes of English in different words. That's why the best practice is that what you hear, you have to transcribe it phonetically. And this is what should be the target of each and every learner of phonetics and phonology, my dears. Alright? Well, after having talked about monophthongs and some of the difficult areas of phonology, this is what you need to do. As I always tell you that this is the most important part of each and every session. Today, we try to learn what are monophthongs and we try to compare them with diphthongs. At the same time, we tried to understand some of the triphthongs, but we did not analyze completely the triphthongs or diphthongs. But we tried to understand the difference between vowels, pure vowels of course, the monophthongs and diphthongs. But today's session was primarily based on monophthongs. And at the same time, we made some sort of reference to the difficult areas of phonology, and we talked about 5 areas, but we did not analyze each and every difficult area of phonology. A couple of difficult areas we talked about, and of course we shall be talking about them in the coming sessions. So today's session was based on primarily monophthongs, or the understanding of monophthongs, and we tried to understand the position of the tongue elevation or mouth position or the lips, whether rounding or not when we are producing monophthongs. At the same time, we tried to understand what are diphthongs. Yes, exactly, these are the gliding vowels. And we also talked about some of the difficult areas of phonology. So today what you need to do is that you have to describe all vowels of English, of course, monophthongs, and then please I want you to record them in your own voice together with the keywords. That's the best practice you can have and you can do. And then at the same time you have to list the difficult areas of phonology. So not a big task for you. I'm sure that you are quite habitual, and I'm sure that you are now, I'm sure this is what my expectation is, that you enjoy your work a lot. So when you complete this, please, so where the recording is concerned, time and again you have to listen to yourself. You can WhatsApp me, no problem at all. Okay, but you have to put this assignment, your answer sheet in the folder you have generated for this particular course. From my side, thank you very much for this session. Goodbye, good luck, stay blessed.